again!
It's over!
He's done it again! Unbelievable!
Oh, straight into the roof of the net. Nice one. Straight down the middle.
Hi, you're watching Firstpost. I'm Rupha Ramani. Let's get the show started. On the show today, Asia Cup squad continues to come under fire. The selections have been criticised, with an expert saying this team cannot win the T20 World Cup. What goes behind a team selection, and did the selectors make the right calls here? Hot on the heels of the sports bill, the Indian government has now banned online money gaming and real money gaming sites. But that has had massive repercussions. One of the biggest parties affected could be the Indian cricket team. Stay on to know more on that. And Norway's standoff with Israel could turn the FIFA World Cup qualifier lined up into a very spicy affair. The two countries have traded blows, with Norway planning to use the proceeds from the game against Israel to help Gaza. What's happened so far, and is Israel getting alienated on the football pitch? But first, a look at the headlines on Sports 360. Starting with cricket, D.Y. Patil Stadium in India's Navi Mumbai has replaced Bengaluru's M. Chinnaswamy as the host city for the upcoming Women's World Cup. The move comes after the Karnataka Cricket Association failed to obtain police clearances to host the games. Chinnaswamy hasn't hosted any matches since the stampede post the IPL that took the lives of 11 fans. Navi Mumbai could host two group games, a semi-final and potentially the final. In tennis, US Open singles draws are out. Men's world number one Yannick Sinner opens his title defense versus Vit Kopriva on Sunday. He'll also avoid early clashes with Novak Djokovic or Carlos Alcaraz. Women's world number one Aryna Sabalenka is likely to face Leylah Fernandez, who has beaten her in the past, and this will happen in all likelihood in a third round clash. Australia's Nick Kyrgios has withdrawn from the US Open due to injury. It's the third straight year he's missed the New York Slam. He's now missed 11 of the last 12 Grand Slams. Kyrgios has battled foot, knee and wrist injuries since 2022. His last singles appearance came in Miami in March, where he crashed out in the round of 64. On to football, La Liga players have rejected the plan to hold the Barcelona versus Villarreal match in Miami. Players Union AFE said there was no dialogue or respect for players in this decision. The Spanish Football Federation, meanwhile, is awaiting FIFA's approval for the game. If the schedule gets the green light, the match is proposed for 20th of December. And summing it up with shooting, India has bagged gold at the Asia Shooting Championships in the men's 10-meter air rifle team event. The trio of Rudraksh Patil, Arjun Babuta and Kiran Jadhav scored 1,892.5 to finish number one. China grabbed silver and South Korea took home bronze. Criticism for India's Asia Cup squad isn't pausing. There is continuous scrutiny on the kind of team the selectors have picked this time. Now, fans have shown their disappointment already. Experts are not too far behind, with one even claiming that this team cannot win the T20 World Cup. Now look, it's always tough to appease everyone when you are a decision maker, but I want to break down the thinking that usually goes behind selecting a squad for a tournament. Now, there are many parameters that are taken into account here while building a side. One, of course, is the tournament itself. Where is it being played? What are the conditions? Who are the oppositions? And how can you stack up your side to counter all of this? Then, of course, is your team. Who should lead? Who should be the vice-captain? Because that's just as crucial. There may be injuries and you need a good second in command. The logic is that that should be your future captain. Then, of course, the personnel around these two. How balanced can you make this side? How many batters vis-a-vis bowlers? A few all-rounders just to keep the balance correct. You work from inside out. You plan your 11 and then bring in your backups to make up your squad. That's how it normally works. And more importantly, you look at form and performance, and there has to be a long-term vision here. Certain experts feel this side has failed to do much of this.
We might win the Asia Cup with this team, but there is no chance of winning the T20 World Cup with this bunch. Is this the preparation for the T20 World Cup, which is hardly 6 months away? They have gone backwards.
Srikkanth's observations carry some weight. He's had an average career as a flamboyant opener, but he's been a World Cup winner himself, and he's been the chief of selector when India lifted the World Cup for the first time since 1983. So you can pay some heed to what he says. He says that this team here, yes, can win the Asia Cup, sure. The oppositions aren't too threatening, though there could be some close encounters, but this side cannot win you the World Cup. That's what I mean when I said earlier that a selection needs vision. You have to be planning for the next big event. In this case, it's the T20 World Cup. More so when it's just the next year. You aren't going to be playing too many T20 internationals. So whenever you get a chance, it has to be keeping in mind that big goal. Your squad for the T20 World Cup. Now, the selectors say this may not entirely be the team that plays the World Cup, but shouldn't that be the intention somewhere from the start? And it begins here. And if you could be long-sighted to bring in someone like Shubman Gill and make him the vice-captain after displacing your vice-captain Akshar Patel, who's just a few months into this gig, sure you could do the same for the rest, isn't it?
Akshar Patel has been axed from vice-captaincy. I don't know how Rinku Singh, Shivam Dubey and Harshit Rana have come in. IPL is considered the main criteria for selection, but the selectors seem to have considered performances before that.
Maybe they just couldn't arrive at a consensus. Even so, while a team needs to be built on continuity, a team also needs performers, players in form, and those who have delivered in the biggest stage like the Indian Premier League. That's pretty much your betting ground to pick up your future T20 squad. So then why get in certain force fits who haven't been in the scheme of things of late, who haven't been in top form, and leave out leaders and proper reliable members whom you only forced to prove themselves or else? So bottom line, there doesn't seem to be a uniform way in dealing with this whole selection. Some seem decisive and with conviction, while some just seem to be rushed with no proper thought. Maybe they felt the World Cup is still some months away, but isn't foresight key when it comes to big tournaments? Or are they waiting for something to go off to scramble about and then aim to get it right? India's new online gaming bill has struck at the very heart of the sports economy. The country's cricket structure could face a massive financial blow because of this, with main sponsors of the national team now under threat. The government has banned money-based online gaming, saying it takes a severe psychological toll on users. But what about the impact it will have on a $3.8 billion industry? Because it isn't just the gamers who are losing out, not just cricket either. This move could trigger huge revenue losses and widespread job cuts across the country. Our next report breaks it down.
India's sporting industry is growing at a rapid pace. The government is pushing every sport, with the Olympics clearly in its sights. But even as it builds, the government has raised red flags in one sector that fuels modern-day sports: online gaming and gambling platforms. Parliament has cleared a new online gaming bill, banning real money-based games. The reasons: gambling addiction, money laundering, and financial frauds. At the same time, esports has been recognized as a legitimate sport in India, a step forward for gaming. But a setback for fantasy platforms that have shaped fan engagement for years. Fantasy sports had become a bridge between fans and their favorite games, a small wager, and the thrill of being connected to the sport. That's why platforms like Dream 11, My 11 Circle, and Games 24/7 became household names. Players were roped in as brand ambassadors. Deals were splashing in. For a nation of 1.4 billion, obsessed with cricket and other sports, this was a goldmine. Global investors poured in billions, pushing India's online gaming market to a staggering $3.8 billion. And with money came jobs. MPL alone hosts over 400 gaming companies with more than 200,000 employees. Their future, now hanging in the balance. And the internet is already ablaze with concern, some even seeing the funny side of it. Mass layoffs are a real possibility. When the cash dries up, companies will cut down, and it won't stop at employees inside these firms. India's most loved sport is also caught in the crossfire: cricket. The Indian team's top two sponsors, Dream 11 and My 11 Circle, are such platforms. Dream 11's deal with the BCCI is worth $3.58 billion till 2026, but with the new law, that deal could collapse. Meaning, India could head into the Asia Cup without a jersey sponsor, a massive blow to BCCI's coffers.
Once the act comes into force, we'll look into it, examine it, and if it's permissible, then we will take sponsorship. If it's not permissible, we'll not do anything.
And the hit doesn't stop there. My 11 Circle, the associate sponsor of the IPL, signed a deal worth $6.2 billion in 2024. That partnership too could now unravel. Yes, the government's move could curb addiction and prevent people from losing money. But many believe fans will simply find new ways. If real cash is banned, crypto might sneak in. If local platforms collapse, offshore apps will fill the gap. And when something is forced underground, the illegal market opens. But who stands to be most affected? Many, from sports fans to BCCI's balance sheet, to thousands of employees in the online gaming sector. The shockwaves will be felt everywhere, and that raises the ultimate question. Will this bill help India in the long run? Or will the country end up losing far more than it gains?
The war in West Asia continues to cast a long shadow on the world of sport, and this time it isn't just Israel, Iran or Palestine involved. Other nations are now entering the field. Norway, a country that has long pushed for a ban on Israeli football, is now using Israel itself to extend a helping hand to Gaza. A strategic move, a psychological blow, and a way to hit back even before their football clash in October takes place. Now, all this at a time when Israel is already under intense scrutiny within the global football community. Despite Norway's tactics, Israel isn't backing down. In fact, they've hit back at Norway straight and sharp. Our next report tells you more.
Amid the ongoing war in West Asia, a new front has opened. This time it is Norway versus Israel. The battlefield, not a border or a war zone, but the football pitch and the warfare, entirely psychological. Since late last year, Norway has demanded that FIFA ban Israel from international football. The demands grew louder after the two nations were drawn together in the same World Cup qualifying group. When FIFA refused to act and allowed Israel to compete, Norway began using other means to show its protest. The two will lock horns in Oslo in a high-stakes World Cup qualifier. But for Norway, this game is more than just football. The Norwegian FA has promised to donate all profits from the match to humanitarian aid in Gaza. In short, they plan to use Israel to help Gaza by using football as the medium.
Neither we nor other organizations can remain indifferent to the humanitarian suffering in Gaza. We want to donate the proceeds to a humanitarian organization that saves lives in Gaza and provides active emergency aid on the ground.
Norway isn't alone in raising a voice. Even UEFA, accused of silence for months, has finally been forced to react. During the Super Cup clash between Paris Saint-Germain and Tottenham, a massive banner was unfurled on the pitch reading, "Stop killing children. Stop killing civilians." The move followed widespread outrage at UEFA's muted response to the killing of the footballer nicknamed the Palestinian Pele. This is a global environment Israel football now operates in. The wave may seem to be rising against them, but Israel has stood firm, and they are not staying silent. They are hitting back at their opponents. The latest response? Aimed directly at Norway. reference to whale hunting was deliberate. It is one of Norway's most controversial practices, heavily criticized internationally. And with that single line, Israel fired a double shot. Not only did they deflect Norway's move, but they also reminded Oslo that politicizing football comes with consequences. The war of words has already turned the World Cup qualifier into a face-off that is more than just a football match. Each time an Israeli team steps out to play, the tensions are high, but this time, it's personal, political, and deeply symbolic. Because come October 11th in Oslo, it won't just be about goals or qualification points. It will be about prestige, about politics, and about who wins the battle of narratives on the biggest stage of all.
A football game in Argentina turned violent. The Copa Sudamericana game between an Argentinian side and a Chilean football club saw fans clashing with knives, sticks and stun grenades. More than 100 people were arrested, 20 were injured as South America experienced one of its worst acts of sporting violence in years. The incident occurred mid-match, forcing the fixture to be abandoned. As Argentina and Chile officials continue to play the blame game, Chile fans, meanwhile, are protesting outside the Argentinian embassy in their country. They are disappointed in the way this entire situation was handled. That wraps it up here on Firstpost. Do enjoy the weekend. Do not miss sports this week as well. I'll see you on Monday.